Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to another edition of If You Smell What the Arch is Cooking. I am your host with the most, Archie Mitchell, and I am also now the defending Book or the Box champion over on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Yes, in their last edition of that show, I beat Nate Maxon and Aaron Maxon with a score of 15 to 11 and 9. So I will be defending my title the next time that we do another episode of the Book in the Box. Why is this prevalent right now? Well, because next week's show will be a Royal Rumble show talking about everything that went on this past Sunday at the Royal Rumble, uh, the winners and losers of every match, as well as both the men's and women's Royal Rumble. And I will have special guests Nate Maxon and Aaron Maxon with me here in the studio talking about all of the 2022 Royal Rumble in its entirety. So, with that being said, we are once again back here on If You Smell What the Arch is Cooking for our regular show, where we talk about AEW and NXT, as well as some quick hits. Maybe there's a little bit of gear grinding. You never know. So, what I want you guys to do is go ahead and pop open your favorite frosty beverage and join me as I spew my venom, my hate, and my love for the world of professional wrestling. And we're going to start off with some quick hits this week. Quick hit number one, the Iconics, now known as the Inspiration, Billy Kay and Peyton Royce, turned down the WWE's invite to come back and participate in the WWE Royal Rumble this year, just as they did with the Knockouts world champion Mickie James. Now, the Inspiration are the Knockouts tag team champions, and it's possible that WWE wanted to showcase more of Impact's women's division. More power to them. But the Iconics, aka the Inspiration, said, you know what? It's a step backwards, and it's really not going along with the place that we see ourselves heading to right now. The path that we're on is perfectly fine here in Impact, and we don't feel like we need to return to the WWE. Now, I do not know Peyton Royce and Billy Kay. I thought that they were pretty decent while they were in the WWE. A tad bit annoying when they were on the mic, but still pretty good in the ring. Again, I don't know them though, but what I will say this, them telling the WWE no was like them telling Vince McMahon to go fuck himself. And I don't blame them one bit. You fired me for no damn good reason during COVID. Um, you left me without a job. You left me with a 90-day no-compete clause that they had to wait all the way until those 90 days were up to finally sign with a company like Impact. Impact has now been their home. They immediately got an Impact World Tag Team title shot for the women's tag team titles. Congratulations to these two women for standing their ground and saying, no, Vince, we have no reason to come back to you. Number two on my list, the WWE asked Jeff Hardy to come back to his job after letting him go a few weeks back and offered to put him in the 2022 Hall of Fame and induct him. And this was all being done as a way of WWE's way to apologize to Jeff Hardy for his drug test coming back negative. That's right. Jeff Hardy was not under the influence of drugs during that house show that they sent him home on. When he said no to them sending him to rehab, it was because he's not under the influence of any recreational or hardcore drug abuse right now. Jeff Hardy is clean. What is being said is that Jeff took a bump during the match that he had the night before, causing him to feel very loopy and out of place, very dizzy, possibly a concussion. WWE took it the wrong way, immediately thinking Jeff was under the influence, so they fired him. They offered him rehab. When he said no, they fired him. And now they're offering him to come back and telling him, hey, we want you in the Hall of Fame too. Well, guess what? Jeff Hardy turned them down as well. He said no. He said he does not want to go back to the WWE, and he said no to joining the Hall of Fame at this time. Again, I don't know Jeff Hardy. I met him one time. He is a great wrestler. I know that he battles his demons, but I know that he has kept clean for quite some time now. And again, I would say that this is Jeff Hardy telling Vince McMahon to go fuck himself. because, again, you fired me without knowing the whole story. You did not drug test me. You did not allow those drug tests to come back, whether they be positive or negative. You just immediately assumed I was under drugs, offered me a spot in rehab and to go to rehab. But if I'm not on drugs, what do I need rehab for? What sense does that make? And then you just up and said, well, then we're going to let you go. So Jeff has been let go. He does not wish to return or be in the Hall of Fame at this time. I hope that Jeff allows his body to heal, or I hope that he allows his mind to get straight after all the craziness that's going on with the WWE, and allows himself to become a more calm down and get off of the whole road schedule that WWE has these guys doing on a weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. Takes another month or so off, and then if he feels like showing back up in Impact, if he wants to go to AEW and team with or face his brother Matt, all power to him. I do not think that Jeff Hardy is ready to retire yet, but I would hate for him to go ahead and join a company when he is not 100% just yet and risk injury that could be permanent. So that's all I have to say, though, about Jeff Hardy. I'm happy to hear that he did not fall off the wagon. He did not get back into drugs. And I'm happy to hear that he is standing his ground against WWE. Final quick hit is a review of GCW's The World on GCW show that took place just a couple of nights ago. Actually, it took place this past weekend, so it's been 7 days. It took me a while to actually get a chance to watch it, but I've heard nothing but rave reviews about this show, so I said, well, I've got to take a look at it. I've watched other GCW shows. I'm a fan of their product. Whether Jim Cornette calls it a Outlaw Mud show or not, I don't care. I'm a hardcore wrestling fan. Let's see it. This show was really, really good. It was absolutely top to bottom a fun show. It had some funny spots with Matt Cardona and Joey Janela. And then it had some really good surprises, again, with Matt Cardona and Joey Janela. And it had some really good wrestling action. Um, the opening match was surprisingly fantastic. We saw a 6-man tag that was unbelievable. The ladder match, as I mentioned with the opening match, was, they talked about the guy that won it never have getting his shot that he was supposed to get, and he finally reached up in the ladder, grabbing a brass ring, symbolic, obviously, and him moving forward. That I can't talk more, and this is going to sound weird. I have condemned Matt Cardona on this show many of times. I've never been a Matt Cardona fan. When he was Zack Ryder, met the guy a couple times, excuse me, and he's been a really big shithead. But since going back to the independent scene, AEW, Impact, and now GCW, he has totally reinvented himself. And his match with Joey Janela, from the way that they built it, showing pictures that Joey Janela doctored of himself and Chelsea Green, sort of a little bit of a tip of the hat to Ric Flair and Macho Man when they were in the WWF, to the way Cardona came out with the Fuck Mick Foley shirt, to the Sandman's theme, having the Internet Championship belt around his waist, Chelsea obviously there, Joey Janela coming out to be the savior of GCW, and then Brian Myers interfering the same way that Edge did in the RVD John Cena match at One Night Stand was fantastic. They even had a big sign that says, if Cardona wins, we riot. Well, Cardona won, and they didn't riot, but they threw as much trash as they could in the ring as possible. Effie is a really, really fantastic wrestler, and his character is unbelievable because he's being himself, and his match was great. The main event shocked me because we got the Briscoe brothers defending the GCW World Tag Team titles in an open challenge. We didn't know who their opponents were going to be, and it turns out it was Matt Tremont, one of the biggest, craziest guys in all of hardcore wrestling. And then his tag team partner turns out to be the sickest king of deathmatch himself, Nick Gage. And the match was only 10 minutes long, but these four men left each other bloodied. These four men left each other staggered, and these four men ended up shaking hands afterwards and hugging. Gage and Tremont won and are now the GCW World Tag Team Title champions. Um, we also saw John Moxley defend the GCW World Title. He retained his belt as well. It was just an all-around good show. I know Jim Cornette will sit there and call it a piece of shit, an outlawed mud show. They do these things strictly for to get the cult-like fans involved. But I'm not a cult-like fan. I sparingly watch GCW once every 2 to 3 months, and I liked it. So I'm going to go ahead and say, if you have not seen The World on GCW, go ahead and check it out. It is definitely a must watch. If not for anything else than to see Hornswoggle battle Marco Stunt. So moving into our reviews, NXT 2.0 is first, and MSK starts off the show and are hyping up the Dusty Cup. They make their way to the ring, and we are immediately going to the ring for our opening match, which is Jacket Time. Jiro and Kushida taking on MSK. This was 13 minutes high of a high-flying masterpiece. I poke fun at Jacket Time because of their name, but Jiro and Kushida are great together. Carter and Wesley, however, are just that much better. Just an inch better, and they showed it here tonight. Both teams went back and forth. Kushida countered MSK's finisher, but Carter fought out of it into a submission, and we saw MSK advance in a great opening contest here for NXT. Io Shirai and Zoe Stark have a conversation backstage, and they're talking about the Women's Dusty Cup and that Io will need another tag team partner. Tiffany Stratton interrupts to let them know that she has a match with Io Shirai tonight, and I kind of hope that Io kicks her head off because I do not understand the Tiffany Stratton character in this day and age. Is she like the female $1 million man? Is she the $1 million woman? You know what I mean? It just makes no sense. We see highlight packages of Cameron Grimes, and the best thing in NXT says that tonight he will beat Tony D'Angelo en route to a shot at Carmelo Hayes' North American Championship. We then go to the ring where Santos Escobar and Legado del Fantasma are sitting center in the ring. Escobar says he's sick and tired of hearing about Braun Breaker. He makes fun of his family and his poor math skills. He's sick of Braun that he got to NXT so fast and won the NXT title so quickly. And this brings Braun Breaker, the NXT champion, out to the ring. He tells Santos to issue the challenge and he'll accept it. It's as easy as that, but Santos says only on his time. Legado tries to take out Braun, but Braun destroys both of them, sending them from the ring and leaving Santos Escobar speechless. We then go to a falls count anywhere, no disqualification match between Sikoa and Boa. Boa attacks Sikoa on the way to the ring with a kendo stick and unloads on his opponent until Sikoa counters with a Samoan drop. They trade shots with chairs, kendo sticks, and everything else that they wasn't nailed down. So Sikoa finally put Boa away after a huge Samoan splash through the table at the 9-minute mark in a very good hardcore match, in my opinion. We see a promo package for Imperium, and Walter explains why he changed his name to Gunther and that this is now his time. His granddad, who introduced him into wrestling, was known as Walter, and he wants to have his own impact. Therefore, he has named himself Gunther. It is a new age and a new time for the future of Imperium, and they are ready. Hudson then takes on Duke Hudson takes on Raj, the young man who he took out last week during his run-in on Chen and Raj's match. This is a total squash. Hudson gets the win in 1 minute and 27 seconds with the Razor's Edge. Post-match, Chan attacked Hudson, but Duke chop blocked him right in the right leg that Chan had already injured in the past. I'm not understanding why Duke Hudson is now going to feud with this newcomer. All I can think of is that Duke Hudson is a lost soul who doesn't really know where he belongs in NXT, and they're just going to keep throwing him from person to person until something finally sticks. We hear from Parada and Indy Hartwell before their six-woman tag team match tonight against Toxic Attraction. Kylie Ray walks in and says, They are unified in taking all the gold away from Toxic Attraction. Backstage, Legado del Fantasma are fuming over Braun Breaker and what he did to them. Santos says Braun is going to have to fight Legado 2-on-1 unless he can find a partner, but he doesn't think that will happen. We go to the ring for a six-woman tag team match. It is Toxic Attraction, Gigi Dolan, JC Jane, and Mandy Rose, the women's tag team champions and the women's champion of NXT, taking on Kylie Ray, Indy Hartwell, and Parada. Great six-woman tag team match here tonight. Mandy Rose did all she could to stay away from Kylie Ray. Gigi Dolan proved to be the star of the match, and the Toxic Attraction team spent most of the time in the ring. Ray took out JC Jane, and Hartwell hit a big splash on Rose, but Parada got the win with the powerhouse slam to Gigi Dolan at the 17-minute mark in a very impressive six-woman match. We then hear from Blade and Enfro about their success so far. They're hyped to be going into the semifinals of the Dusty Cup. And I have no problem with this team. They're great athletes. They're doing fantastic, but I just think that they have beaten two other teams I'd rather have seen in the Dusty Cup. And I'm hoping that this is where they finally max out and are done in the Dusty Cup and they can just go back to normal tag team matches. I don't. If they win the Dusty Cup, an inexperienced tag team like them winning it makes no sense to me. Cora Jade continues to beg Raquel Gonzalez to team with her in the Women's Dusty Cup. I get that they're building these two as an odd couple, but it's not paying off here. And apparently, we're going to see Cora Jade taking on Raquel Gonzalez next week because Raquel continues to refuse. Grizzled Young Veterans take on Andre Chase and his protege Hayward. Chase and Hayward tried and actually got in some really good moves. They tributed to Dusty Rhodes by Chase doing the flip-flop and fly, which was excellent. But Drake and Gibson cut through their opponents in 5 minutes and got the win. In my opinion, the Grizzled Young Veterans deserved the win here, and they got it. Andre Chase and his new tag team partner, Hayward, just don't make any sense yet. Had they been teaming for like 6 months, then all power to them, let them go through. But Grizzled Young Veterans deserve to be moving forward. Post-match, Von Wagner is back, and he took out both Chase and Hayward and is now involved with Robert Stone, which I was hoping for. And I like this. I'm okay with it. Let's see what happens. Grayson Waller sends a message to LA Knight and names his new bodyguard Sangha. I still don't care. Io Shirai takes on Tiffany Stratton. Stratton got off a couple of basic moves, like an arm drag and a slam, but just proved to be that Io Shirai was better and a true veteran who got the win in 4 minutes with her moonsault. I don't get the Stratton character. Again, I don't understand it. She's a spoiled rich kid. Did we really need that in modern WWE? You know what I mean? Do we really believe that a spoiled rich girl would go through the WWE developmental system and the performance center and then all of a sudden end up on NXT? I don't think so. We hear from the Diamond Mine, and Malcolm Bivens says Gunther and Imperium should be worried because next week they have a 6-man tag with Diamond Mine, and the rest of Diamond Mine chime in saying that they are planning to take out Imperium, and they are definitely serious about what is about to happen between both groups. We then see a musical performance from Tits McGee, or seriously, who was this? Why is this happening? Don't get it. And we get to our main event, which is what I was waiting for. Cameron Grimes and Tony D'Angelo, #1 contendership for the North American title. Started out with some comedy, but then got it changed to a good match. D'Angelo held Grimes down and kept control for most of the match. Grimes finally made comeback with a shifting slam, but only got a 2 count. Pete Dunne showed up with a croquet mallet and distracted Tony D. Grimes hit the double stop and gets the win in 14 minutes after a very strong performance between both men. Good main event, and it was continued the 2 stories that were going on here. Obviously, Grimes and Hayes going forward, and Tony D and Pete Dunne moving as well. Outside, Braun Breaker is leaving the building, and Legado pulls up, try to take him out. And as they try to goad the NXT champion to fight all 3 of them, Tommaso Ciampa makes his return to NXT and stands tall with Braun Breaker basically saying, I'm his tag team partner. Braun says 3-on-2. Matt checks out. He likes that. I do too. And the show goes off the air. This was miles better than last week. Even the squash matches, they were squash matches for the sake of it. You have to have a squash match with a guy like Duke Hudson because he's 6'5" and Chen is only like 5'10". Kylie Ray and everything that went on with that, Io Shirai and Tiffany Stratton. You have to have those types of matches. I give this show a 4 out of 5. Solid B rating here. Definitely deserved what it got because NXT much better, and we are apparently leading to NXT Vengeance Day, which is the next pay-per-view, and I'm sure we're going to see matches like Cameron Grimes and Carmelo Hayes. Apparently, the finals of the Dusty Classic will happen there. So I'm all for it as we move along to NXT's next big show. Speaking of big shows, it's time for AEW Dynamite Beach Break. Now, all week long, I questioned why did they name this show Beach Break? There are no beaches in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm proven wrong because Tony Schiavone actually conducted an interview from a beach in Cleveland, Ohio. Who knew? The show kicks off with the ladder match to combine both TNT titles. I was surprised at this. I thought they'd go with the main event, but oh well. Rhodes and Guevara ladder match for the unified TNT championship, and I'll admit when I'm wrong. And although I said that they were copying the storyline of HBK and Razor Ramon from Raw in the 90s, and I asked them to show me something. Well, they did. They did. I would like this match to have been more drawn out. The storyline to at least go on a couple of more weeks. But man, did Cody Rhodes and Sammy Guevara just go for it. Cody, as the veteran, countered everything Guevara had, but the youngster continued to come back. The plancha outside, the GTS to the floor, unbelievable. And that swanton from the top of the 12-foot ladder onto Cody, who was on another ladder that didn't break, absolutely sickening. We then saw a cutter from one ladder to another by Guevara to Cody. This was unbelievable. I found myself marking out during this match. And at the 25-minute mark, Guevara knocked Cody Rhodes off the other ladder that he was coming up on, grabbed both titles, your winner and new unified TNT champion, Sammy Guevara. Now, before I go into anything else, I would like to say thank you, Cody Rhodes, for giving us 3 great matches with Sammy Guevara since AEW started. Thank you for putting over such a younger talent like Sammy Guevara. And thank you for allowing yourself to not feel like you needed to be at the top of being in the TNT title picture for longer than a few weeks. This was a great opener. And again, I'll admit when I'm wrong. They did a fantastic job here. Both men killed themselves in that matchup. Tony Schiavone then interviews Starks and Hobbs at the beach in Cleveland, Ohio. Hobbs challenged Dante Martin to one more match, and Starks said next week he will defend the FTW title against Jay Lethal. I understand why the FTW title is there, but I don't think Jay Lethal is jumping up and down going, I get an FTW title shot. Oh my God, no. He's happy to be on one-on-one with Ricky Stark and to be battling Team Taz, but I don't think he's all that enthusiastic about getting the shot at the orange belt. No. Wardlow took on 2 jobbers here and hit 3 power bombs each and got the win in 2 minutes. Another squash, but well done to continue to build Wardlow after what happened a couple of weeks ago with CM Punk. This is what you need to do to progress the Wardlow character. Continue it. Show him off as the monster who is fuming, and you don't know what he's going to do just quite yet. Jericho, Santana, and Ortiz took on 2.0 and Garcia. Really good 6-man tag match. Santana and Ortiz with some good double teaming move against 2.0 and assisted 3 Amigos, moonsault, and then a low diving headbutt. Garcia and 2.0 took over and even took the fight to Chris Jericho. The match spilled out with all 6 men fighting around the ring. Jericho nailed a Judas effect on the outside to Garcia, allowing Santana to hit a pile driver, and the Inner Circle got the win in 12 minutes. Post-match, though, Jericho walks away from Santana and Ortiz, and it seems like there may be problems inside the inner circle. Now, Jake Hager hasn't really been seen that much. I'm sure he's off training for another mixed martial arts match. That's fine. Sammy Guevara is doing his own thing with the TNT title. And Santana and Ortiz have been questioning what Jericho is even doing for their careers anymore. Jericho walking away here. I can't wait to see what happens next. I just hope that this is not where Santana and Ortiz turn on Jericho. We bring back Eddie Kingston, and now it's Jericho battling Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz. We then see pre-recorded comments from Lance Archer and the AEW champion Adam Page. These two will eventually lock up in a Texas death match for the title, according to Archer. Judging by how Page has been defending his title, bleeding at every chance that he can, I'm sure this is going to be absolutely great. We see Tony Schiavone interview Jurassic Express and Christian. Matt Hardy and Private Party. Private Party are the #1 contenders. They are at the top of the list in the tag team division, and they will get a shot this Friday night on Rampage. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus make a little bit of fun at the the side of Private Party, saying that their watches look fake and so do their shirts. This causes Matt Hardy to take fault with it, and we end the segment. We then go to inside the ring with CM Punk, and he gets another big ovation from the Cleveland audience. Punk makes his plea to get a match with MJF. Out comes Max, finally makes his way out and says that CM Punk has been wishing for this match, and all that's going to happen is once MJF beats him, Punk is going to leave the sport of professional wrestling again. He doesn't care about the fans. He doesn't care about leaving. He only cares about himself. Punk says that the reason that he left was because he did care. He needed time to heal. He needed time to get his mind right, and that he left because of the fans to make sure that he was 100% better. MJF and Punk now begin trading jabs back and forth on the mic, and MJF finally says, next week in Chicago, we will get CM Punk versus Maxwell Jacob Friedman in the match that we've all been waiting for. I certainly cannot wait. I hope that we get an honest-to-God real match and not just MJF playing with us again. And then MJF sends out FTR, Shawn Spears, and Wardlow to take out CM Punk. The power bomb on the chair from Wardlow. Wardlow looking around as his Cleveland people were telling him not to, leads me to believe that we may finally see the turn of Wardlow, although I don't know if I want it yet because I want him to continue to be moving forward and growing as a heel so that when he finally turns as a face, it's better. But who am I to judge? It was still a great segment. It went a little too long, but still a really good segment. The Acclaim say they're happy about Mox being back because this Friday night on Rampage, Bowens is going to get some revenge from Mox. Damn, I talk about long storytelling. I forgot Moxley took out the Acclaimed a couple of months back and helping Brian Pillman Jr. I didn't even remember that happened. Backstage, Mark Sterling lets Julia Hart know that she's the next challenger for Jade's TBS title, and if she signs the contract, she will be the #1 contender. She does, despite Griff Garrison telling her not to, and we will see another TBS title match this Friday night on Rampage. Rampage is ramping up to be a pretty damn good show. Red Velvet then takes on Layla Hirsch. This was not as bad as I was imagining. Red actually showed a lot of improvement, and Hirsch came off like a submission-style badass. Hirsch took control and worked over the arm and knee of Red. Hirsch finally got in an armbar and picked up the win in 12 minutes. Chris Statlander ran down to get her to finally release the hold, and AEW is proving me wrong here tonight on many accounts. Again, I said during last week's show that Layla Hirsch, Red Velvet, and Chris Statlander were only put together because they were tired of using Red Velvet and Layla on Dark and Dark Elevation, and they were just there for the whatever of it. But no, they showed me a great deal of momentum in this matchup. So now I want to see Statlander versus Hirsch. Tony Schiavone interviews Britt Baker. Britt talks about all of her accomplishment, including being undefeated in her title defenses and her PWI awards this year. She says she is the champion everyone needs and will continue to be the face of the company. And then we go to our main event, and it is Orange Cassidy taking on Adam Cole in a lights out match. Now, if you do not know what a lights out match means, it means that it is unsanctioned. The company is not responsible for anything that happens. And if somebody gets hurt, well, they're not liable. And we've only seen one other of these matches in AEW, and that was when it was Thunder Rosa versus Mrs. Adam Cole, baby, Britt Baker. And that made both of them instant stars. So I don't know what you do with two already stars. Did they get bigger? We'll have to wait and find out. This wasn't a match, though. It was a fight. Cole used everything he had and then some, but Cassidy would not stay down. We saw interference from the Best Friends and the Young Bucks, and even the newly debuting Danhausen. That's right. The very nice, very evil Danhausen is now all elite. Cassidy came off the top of the entry with Cole and landed through the stage, which allowed him to get the win after a 20-minute barn burner of a match. Such a good show this week. Tightened up. There were not a lot of, loose ends or anything going on. Only one squash, and everything else was perfectly done. I'm giving this show a 5 out of 5. A plus. Well done, AEW. You did everything you needed to. Presenting a show like Beach Break and saying it's something big. Well, guess what? It was something big. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I know a lot of people were like, oh, we should have had a bigger debut than Danhausen. It should have been Johnny Gargano. It should have been The Fiend or, Wyndham Rotundo. It could have been anybody. Well, here's the thing, guys. AEW never said that they were signing Johnny Gargano, nor did Johnny say that he was ever going to AEW. He said that he will see the fans soon. Wyndham Rotundo, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, has never said that he is signed with AEW. Although Tony Khan has hinted to it, yes, there may be a chance that he does come in, but they might want to be waiting to a bigger time. There are pay-per-views coming up. There are more important things than just Dynamite and Rampage. You want the ratings to be huge, yes, but you also want the pay-per-views to sell. So, we're getting our hopes up here for Wyndham or Gargano or someone big. Hey, I like Danhausen. I think he's going to be a fine fit in AEW. So why not have him debut in a fun skit with Adam Cole and Orange Cassidy during their lights out match? And now onto that show that was ramping up to be huge during AEW Dynamite, AEW Rampage Friday Night Championship Edition, apparently. And we go to the ring immediately, starting off right away with Moxley versus Bowens. Now, Moxley has only been back now for 2 weeks. This will be his second match. And I've met Anthony Bowens. I've seen him wrestle live. Great athlete. So this should definitely be good. And Mox looked a lot better this week. Things were a little tighter. He didn't seem so rusty. Bowens actually got in some good offense and actually forced Mox to cover up a few times. We saw back and forth pin attempts by both men. Bowens tried to use his ghetto blaster or radio, what have you, but Mox hit a double arm DDT, picks up the win in 13 minutes. Very good opener. Very much enjoyable. Happy to see Mox honing his craft again and getting better each time that he's going to step into the ring. Post-match, we see Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson. I will continue to call him Daniel Bryan while he is in AEW. Bryan Danielson watching Moxley on a backstage monitor and smiling, still wondering where this is going. Nyla Rose sends a warning to Ruby Soho for next week's Dynamite. We then see Andrade offering Darby Allin a contract. Darby lets Andrade know his money. He doesn't need his money, and they have no business to talk about. And Andrade walks off. Lee Johnson and Brock Anderson take on FTR. Great back and forth tag match. Brock proving to be learning a lot from his dad, and Johnson is a true student of the game. They got the upper hand on Dax, but Cash tagged in and gained control. Brock got taken out. FTR hit a double team pile driver, and they got the win in 10 minutes. Very good tag team match. We hear from Thunder Rosa and Mercedes Martinez yet again. I can't wait for these two women to lock up, and apparently they will do so next week on Rampage. I would have rathered AEW Dynamite, but I guess let's start off slow and then move to the bigger stage until we finally see these two women battle on pay-per-view. They've got a lot of history, and I think that will mean a better match when they finally step in the ring with each other. AEW then shows highlight packages of Serena Deeb and what she's been doing lately with that mean streak of hers. She is caught in the eye of everyone, and I, for one, want to see Serena Deeb challenge for one of the women's titles. Although with Britt Baker and Jade both being heels, I don't know if we're going to see that happen anytime soon. Julia Hart then amps up to take on Jade for the TBS title. Julia tried to fight, but Jade was just too much. Jade got the win in 2 minutes after a pump kick and a glam slam. Once again, this is how you do a squash. This is needed. Promote your monster champion. She will continue to do good in short matches like this against, common opponents, and then let her have great matches with someone who could lead her to them. Mark Henry then does his split screen interview with both Jurassic Express and Private Party before our main event, and Christian and Matt Hardy both plead for their team's cases, and we are ready to go to the ring. And it is Jurassic Express taking on Private Party, and Private Party attacked early and even hit their finisher on Jungle Boy in the first minute of the match, but were only able to get it 2. Cassidy kept control for his team for quite a while, and Private Party almost got the win a couple of times. Luchasaurus finally got the hot tag, and that top rope slam off the shoulders of Luchasaurus by Jungle Boy was sickening. Absolutely fantastic. Lucha and Jungle hit their double team move, which is that flip into the powerbomb, and get the win in 15 minutes. What a main event. I absolutely enjoyed it. Post-match, the Gun Club come in and attack the Jurassic Express and make their statement for getting a shot at the tag team titles. I am giving AEW Rampage a 4.5 out of 5. Solid A show here tonight. I just wanted more. I don't know why. I think I wanted more out of both tag team matches. And maybe I would like to have seen the opener go a little longer because Mox and Bowens actually had a lot of chemistry. But that's no fault of theirs. It was an incredible week of wrestling for both NXT and AEW. I applaud both of them. And definitely no complaints on either show by yours truly. Now, tonight, we're going to do something a little differently. We are not going to do what grinds my gears here. No, no, no. We're going to talk about the Royal Rumble a little bit and what I think will be happening this Saturday night on pay-per-view. And I mean, I have to say it's a pretty good card up and down. Both world title matches have been a driving force on both Raw and SmackDown. Brock and Bobby Lashley are killing it. Seth Rollins is leading Roman Reigns to perhaps his most entertaining feud that he's had so far. The women's title match between Becky and Doudrop seems a little pointless, but Doudrop has been ruthless. I think that's going to add to this matchup. And then both Royal Rumbles. The thing about the Royal Rumble match is you know who's on the roster before it, and you kind of get, oh, this guy's in it, that guy's in it. The old WWF interviews with Mean Gene, where he would run down who's in the Royal Rumble, and then they leave out 1 or 2 spots for those surprises. This year, with all of these layoffs, both the women's and the men's Royal Rumble have so many holes. You don't know who's going to debut. You don't know who's going to return. You don't know what's about to happen. All we know is that Mickie James is booked for the Women's Royal Rumble despite being the Impact Women's Champion. She is booked to be in the Women's Royal Rumble, along with Kelly, Lita, Michelle McCool, and a few other returning legendary women's superstars. On the Raw side, we've heard of no returns for any legends or any one big name coming in. They didn't bring anybody from the Impact side of the men's roster to come in here. But my feeling is here, and hear me out, is that when it comes to the men's Royal Rumble, we may see Johnny Gargano or The Fiend return during this match. It would only make sense. Johnny Gargano mentioned during an interview before his contract let out that he actually didn't want to leave the WWE and that he was just waiting to have his son born and to, go home and be with his family for a little while. Again, never mentioned AEW in that instance. The Fiend was let go during COVID and during his mourning of the passing of Brody Lee. Um, and nothing else has been said about that except for the vignettes that Wyndham Rotunda is doing on YouTube. Who knows if one of them are going to pop in? It would, I think it would lead to two great crowd responses if both of those men returned. There could be a couple of other guys who were fired during COVID and the coronavirus that could make their return as well, strictly for one night. They don't got to be rehired, but the roster is so thin right now, they're going to need it. Otherwise, we're just going to get guys like Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo coming in and getting tossed out by a Drew McIntyre or what have you. It's going to lead to a big mess of just, the lower card getting beat up by the main card. In any indication, I do believe that Becky Lynch will retain the WWE Raw Women's title against Doudrop, whether it's with underhanded tactics, someone helping her, like maybe Bianca Belair, getting a distraction on Doudrop or whatnot. Becky will retain and still be the Raw Women's Champion. I also believe that Brock Lesnar will beat Bobby Lashley. I could see that match ending in some sort of controversy, such as a countout or disqualification victory, because I think that they will want to keep Bobby Lashley in the title picture and won't want Brock to just destroy him. Let's face it, this is not, please understand when I say this, this is not Ricochet. This is not Kofi Kingston. This is not Finn Balor. These guys are, that I just mentioned, gave up 200 pounds to Brock Lesnar. And it was just the WWE allowing Brock to run through somebody. Bobby Lashley is 270 pounds. Brock Lesnar cannot run through him. And this is not Goldberg, where Brock has to only worry about having a 2-minute match. I think this will be at least a 10, 12-minute match where both guys will get in their shots. And if Brock beats him cleanly, great. But if not, Bobby may win by DQ or lose by DQ, continuing the storyline. And on the flip side of things, with Roman and Seth, I am actually seeing Roman Reigns keeping the title again. Yes, another champion will retain at the Royal Rumble. I see Roman beating Seth cleanly. I don't. The bloodline is blocked from the ring. They're banned from the ring, so there's no reason for Roman to get the outside help. They've been talking about that Roman cannot beat Seth Rollins one-on-one, so it only seems right that if they're going to allow this to happen, Roman finally beats Seth one-on-one and can, lay claim to finally beating him. I'm still the champion. And then we can go into Brock beating Bobby soundly at the next pay-per-view, or Bobby beating Brock for the Raw World title, World Heavyweight Championship, and this way Brock can go on to face Roman. Or if Brock beats Bobby soundly at the next pay-per-view before Mania, then we have the title unification match between Brock and Roman. But that's me getting ahead of schedule. On the Royal Rumble side of things, I don't see Charlotte Flair winning the Women's Royal Rumble. It would make no sense for her to win and then handpick her opponent. Not that I think she would pick just anybody. I think that she would pick a really good opponent for herself. It just really doesn't make any sense unless Bayley returns and is the person she picks, or we're going into something where she has a match with Sasha Banks at WrestleMania. I foresee Lita possibly winning the Women's Royal Rumble and her challenging Charlotte Flair at Mania. Charlotte will beat Lita, obviously, or Lita can even have one more run and be the women's champion yet again. If not Lita, that I could see Sasha Banks finally winning the women's Royal Rumble. Um, Charlotte has won it. Becky has won it. Bianca Belair and Asuka have won it. So it only makes sense that Sasha gets the shot to finally win it and then go ahead and main event WrestleMania either against Charlotte or Becky. I would like to see either one of those matches. I love when the four horsewomen get in the ring with each other, and I think that at WrestleMania it will be very welcomed. On the men's side of things, I only see one possible winner, and that is Drew McIntyre. You could boo me. You could say, well, he had two title runs. He did okay. But hold on. He had two title runs during the no fans COVID area, and he actually did a damn fine job as champion both times. Um, there's no, there's no BS in here. He got moved to SmackDown to be able to challenge for the world title or the Universal title against Roman Reigns because he was not allowed to challenge for the world heavyweight title on Raw anymore. So I foresee Drew McIntyre winning the Royal Rumble and going ahead challenging Roman Reigns for the WWE Universal Championship. If it is not Drew McIntyre, then for the love of God, let it be AJ Styles. That guy's won everything else. He might as well win a Royal Rumble while he's there. He just re-signed with the company. Give the guy a Royal Rumble win. You know what I mean? And then we'll go either to Roman versus AJ or AJ versus Brock or AJ versus Bobby or whatever you have. Go ahead and do it. If it's not Drew, it should be AJ Styles, in my opinion. I didn't mention the grit couple versus the it couple, Miz and Maurice versus Beth Venus and Edge. It's not that I have anything against this match, but I think that this might have been better for a Raw or a smaller pay per view, not the Royal Rumble. And they should have let Edge and Beth both be in the Royal Rumble matches. But in any indication, I have this strange feeling that Miz and Maurice will win this one, and then at the next pay per view, we will have a rematch in which Beth and Edge will win. Uh, I think the Royal Rumble should be a damn good pay per view, though. It always is. You know what I mean? There have only been like maybe three really bad Rumbles, in my opinion. So I foresee this being one of the better ones. So that's pretty much it for tonight. Join me next week for a special edition. If you smell what the art's cooking, when I will talk about the Royal Rumble in its entirety and what happened, who the winners were, who should have been the winners, if I don't agree with who won, any surprise entrances, and my two special guests, Nate and Aaron Maxon, will be joining me here in the studio. So thank you for joining me once again. Continue to support this show and all the shows under the We Can't Wrestle uh, podcast and WrestleNet radio station. And I will see you next time on If You Smell what the Arch is Cooking.